Hello.
Horrendous.
There we go. That's our effort for an emergency podcast. Thank you, everybody. Well, good evening, wherever you are. This is the emergency podcast number 6, apparently. Change of manager. Matt Taylor officially gone. We talked about it last night, where the rumor mill was in overdrive last night, and the confirmation came today at mid-morning. As expected, Matt Taylor has been relieved of his duties. We will talk about the decision itself and what next. We'll go from there. Mick is back with us. Mick, how are you doing?
It's my Monday night, mate. It's a school night and everything. I mean, it's just too much for me, this. I'm getting old now. I can't do 2 nights on trot. I don't know what happens tomorrow.
What, you mean an appointment?
Yeah.
Cool. Tom's back there. How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, I'm good. Like Mick said, Monday night, it's uncommon. It's uncouth. But yeah, no, it's not the best of terms to be back on, but always happy to be on.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got loads of comments we'll get through. Dylan's back. We haven't had you back for too long, Dylan. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, nice one. Thanks for having me back. Not the circumstances that I was expecting, but I'm happy to be back.
Dylan's done something called research for this episode. Now, we don't normally do that kind of thing. Let's go through thoughts, feelings. Mick, last night you were always sceptical on these kind of things, Mick.
Yeah.
And it got confirmed this morning. You said last night after we finished that you hoped it wasn't true, just to upset some people. Now it's confirmed. Matt Taylor has gone. Where are you at that? Is it the right time?
If I won't be, yeah, it is. I think it probably is. The sentimental part of me feels a little bit sort of disappointed and fed up for Matt Taylor. I think it's just not worked for him, has it? And he's moved up here, he's moved his family up here, and everything else, and within 18 months he's out of a job. But that's the nature of the beast. That's football. So it is what it is in that respect. I'm not disappointed. I thought I would be, but I'm not, because of the performances and the results, and Tony Stewart has to do something because the work that Matt Taylor was doing was not reaping the results that we need at the moment. So yeah, it's the right decision, I think, for the club.
Yeah, that's fair. Tom, where are you sitting on it?
I don't know. I think I disagree with the disappointment part. I think I am. I think everyone wanted it to work. He was a fresh manager with good ideas. But I think we've discussed it. I think he wanted to change the culture before he could change the performances, and I think it ultimately worked against him. He wanted to, it's always tough going against injuries, and in this league especially, how good it is and how much how much harder it was going to be to stay up. But it was speaking to him at the start of the season and coming to now, I think we were all kind of ready for him to take us mid-table-ish. I know that's bizarre saying it, but at the time we all did think that. So it is disappointing, but at the same time, I completely agree. It's right that he's had to part ways. I just hope that we've got someone in the vicinity to come in, because I think we need it quite desperately.
Yeah, could do a quick turnaround. Dylan, where are you sitting? It's been a poor run of form. The Wednesday game and then culminating in the Watford game. Do you feel like it was the right time, or do you think he could have been given a bit more, or did he wait too long? Maybe.
Well, if I sit on the fence anymore, I'll be picking splinters out my backside. I've got the side for one. I've got the side for the other. I mean, I'll run through it all in a bit. But for me, Wednesday away was the straw. Just stood in the stands watching the players not bothered. I don't want to say that it didn't feel like they were buying into something, but weeks on weeks where they're not turning up, it's difficult. I think something had to change. whether it be the manager or something behind the scenes, something has to change. The results weren't good enough. Even in a league that is as difficult as it is, we should be doing better than we are at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. We've got lots of questions. We will later on in the show. We'll go on to who next and what next for the club. I just want to say first of all, we've got over 200 people watching. Make sure you've subscribed if it's watching, because these are numbers we'd expect maybe for an emergency podcast, probably. To be honest with you, but still, thank you for being with us, and like I said, subscribing, all that stuff. Ian Bradley says, "Hi guys, sadly Taylor's demise was inevitable." A few of the comments. Tom, was the Wednesday. I think everybody feels like this now. I think a lot of people felt like it at the time, to be honest with you. There was the Wednesday game, the tipping point, because the away form was terrible before then, but it always felt like we were fighting against teams around us. I thought it was a fight, but then for me, the Wednesday game it really questioned what I thought wouldn't happen under Matt Taylor. I was really surprised. I think Dylan's right. I think that was a key moment.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it has been in the works ever since then, hasn't it? It seems like that anyway. Because it was so shocking, so poor. We've spoken about it so much that kind of sick of talking about it. But God, yeah, it was pathetic. And from there, you can't come back as a manager. You really can't. We could have gone to the next game, and I know we got a draw against QPR's the next game on it, and again lackluster. If we would have absolutely gone out and smashed QPR, maybe you're looking at a different result. But it was 2 lackluster home games. I know we got a draw against Ipswich, which was great, but it was backs to the wall stuff. It wasn't like we were in control. So yeah, I don't know. I think we have the caliber of players to play so much better than we have been, and that Wednesday performance was so shocking that I think he knew as well. Part of him must have known, So you can't really say more than that. We've talked to death about how much that Wednesday performance was a killer blow for him. And I think it's not just the performance, but what he said afterwards as well didn't help his case at all. He was very, very direct and to the point, and sometimes that's worked for him, but this time I think it was his I think along with a lot of things others was part of his demise.
Yeah, a few people saying same. Chile says the last few weeks to Wednesday, managers have done the homework, sat on Bannon, and then leans to both games he was taken out of the game. That was one of the key things from that game. Harry says, I feel like Tony Stewart would have been having these conversations and may have found the right man to take us forward, potentially going forward. Jay Boy says the Wednesday game and the QPR game did for Jay. Set up terribly against the bottom 2 teams. Yeah, Mick. It's a shame because, like we said, we started the season. We like Tom says, there was a massive amount of positivity around the place. Recruitment felt like it was in a really, really good place. If there were question marks about fitness, but it felt like the recruitment quality was very, very good. We then go into the first international break, having beaten Norwich, who were won 5 out of the 5 games or something like that. This was an excellent Norwich team that we'd taken apart for half of the game. And then that international break, whether it was the international break or something else, it started going downhill before the injuries really started to kick in. I know we've had injury problems all season, but that was the Huddersfield game started this downward spiral, and we just never recovered other than the Coventry game, which was quite good, but again, maybe wasn't as good as the results suggested because Coventry were poor. But it's just strange how positive we were to have. We're now sat here now.
Yeah, it is, and like you said, beginning of the season, we were well up for it, and in my view, still rightly so with the quality of players that have been brought in. It's not about the quality of the players. I don't think it's about what they've been asked to do, and I think if I was looking at this from the outside as another club, it would probably, the answer to the question would probably be so obvious. That the players have not bought into what he's trying to do, but I don't want to say that because I don't know. It's ridiculous, isn't it? It is ridiculous in a situation, and we had this last night on the podcast, and podcast prior to this, where we've essentially spent an hour talking about something and not come up with any sort of solution, not solutions, any explanation as to why we've performed the way we've performed. And I still haven't got an explanation. There has to be a reason, and that can only be a disconnect between what the manager's wanting the players to do and what the players are wanting to do. So, look, it's done now, isn't it? It's done. So, and we can argue all day long whether or not it's the right decision. And it, but the results are what they are. But crucially, the performances have just not been up to scratch, game after game after game. And that it's sad, but it is what it is. That he's gone, and I think it's the right choice. Did I waffle long enough then, or do you want me to waffle a bit? Absolutely.
I feel like you take it from me.
Podcast, no rules.
Yeah,
we do what we want on these ones. The positives, Dylan. There's been some good results under Matt Taylor. You look at your Sheffield United game last season. You look at survival last season. Do you still look on his time here as a success because I suppose he fulfilled the objective in his first season?
Yeah and no. When he come in, it was clear that his job was to keep us up. He did so. I mean, we survived by 6 points. It wasn't comfortable by any means, but he got the job done. But I feel like he would have wanted more out of this season at least. I mean, he's not been helped with injuries and everything that's happening, behind the scenes. It's very difficult to win games when you can't play the players that you want to put out on the pitch. So in that regard, I feel like he almost did the best with what he's been given. I think he's drawn the short straw this season, at least. I think injuries have killed us more than what Taylor's given. So I think it's harsh in some ways on Taylor that he was the man to let go, because again, I think injuries are our biggest thing. And any manager that comes in, they're walking into the same club, they're walking into the same dressing room with the same players. And look, if we've got the money to bring in a good manager, then fair play. But I don't see it getting any better.
Yeah. I hope you're wrong. CJ says he steadied the ship in the second half of the season, which is true. Lack of consistency, which bled into this season, which is obviously a lot of the issues. Yeah. Tom, can you pick me a couple of highlights from Matt Taylor's reign? We will finish up on the Matt Taylor chat now because he's not at the club anymore. But a couple of positives.
I think, there are obviously loads. I mean, staying up's probably one of the biggest ones, and I think it's probably the main one. In terms of individual, honestly, I thought a lot of what he was a good talker. He definitely spoke a lot of what every fan needed to hear. Maybe a couple of times let his head get to him, but he was always confident without being arrogant, and it was kind of a nice trait to have. It was nice. But United away, the Blackburn game when he kind of got us back on form. Even his first game, it was the first manager for a couple of years, and it kind of brought new life into the club a bit. And like I said before, he tried to change the culture, which I don't think anyone's done in a while. And it was fresh, it was new, and it was a bit different. And I wasn't entirely against it. I quite like the kind of style that he wanted to play. He nowhere near nailed it, but he really wanted to get to that point. So for me, his time here was, in itself a bit of a highlight, but you can name so many lows that it's a bit of a pendulum in that case, because for all the highs that we've had, there were 3 or 4 lows, and it's a shame, really, just because of I think everyone could see where his where he was going, and where he wanted to go with it. And I think if we had him in League One, I think he would have been here for a long time. But I think the end goal is to stay in the Championship. We don't have the capabilities and facilities for us to go down and rebuild with him. So I think it's a fair enough sacking.
Yeah. Mick, there's always the Middlesbrough game. That was, I remember at the time, it was a huge weight off everybody's shoulders. So to stay up last season was a hell of an achievement, and we all felt that euphoria of staying up. We should. I know we're all right. We're all in agreement it's the right time, but there was success.
Yeah, there was, and for me, both transfer windows, January last year and the summer transfer window. This sounds ridiculous saying it, given the position we are in the league, but I think they were both successful transfer windows in the sense that we brought in championship quality players in both windows. Unfortunately, most of them are on treatment table now for one reason or another. But you know that was something that we'd not done previously. For whatever reason, the finances being one of them clearly. But ultimately, I agree with Tom. You know, for all the highs, the lows have been pretty low because of the levels of performance in some of those games. You know, Ipswich away last season in the cup, Millwall away this year. You know, they've been desperately low, and that's been the issue. You know, the Jekyll and Hyde nature of this team when they're between being at home and away is just something I can't remember seeing previously. I've been watched Rotherham United for years. I don't remember seeing such a marked difference, and that has to be explained. And he's not been able to. He's not. Well, it had to be addressed, and he's not addressed it, or not been able to address it. So, you know, we have to move on now, don't we?
Yeah, I think Nathan Crabtree sums it up quite well. The lows were real lows, right at where with some of the worst performances in a long time. I would say a long time. Yeah, I agree. That's the issue. We can all we'll go back over all ground. Yeah, yeah. As Andy P, I was going to say, a couple of 200 people here. Make sure you like the video as well. Give us a thumbs up on there and subscribe if you haven't done already. Dylan, you've done a bit of research on sort of stats on what happens next when you sack a manager, the change of managers. We're going to go into a stat session. I don't know if that's the right phrase. It's probably not. Go on, Dylan.
I have, yeah. Just to touch on it again, when Taylor joined from taking over from Paul Warne, survived by 6 points. He's had 55 games in charge and a win rate of 18%. I wanted to compare it to a full season at Exeter, and to see what the difference was. In the last full season he had at Exeter before moving, they had the 5th most shots on target, 3rd most chances created, 2nd in goals per match, 2nd highest possession and possession won in the final third, and a win rate of 44% from 227 games. You can see what he's tried to do as he's when he's come in to play attacking football, to sign Nombe, and he's looked to change the way that we play football. I just think maybe he was out of his depth. The players didn't buy into it. Obviously, injuries didn't help. That's where I'm going to leave the Taylor talk there. I'm going to cast everyone back to last season, the end of last season. Reading received a 6-point deduction and sacked Ince in April. If they didn't, like hypothetically, if they didn't receive that deduction, Cardiff would have gone down mathematically, and as the table stood. They sacked 2 managers that season. Blackpool went down and sacked 2 managers, and Wigan sacked 2 managers. They had a 3-point deduction as well, but not even 3 points would have saved them last season. It's not all doom and gloom though. Last season, Nathan Jones left Luton. Rob Edwards came in and finished the job. Jones left Luton in quite a good place. Rob Edwards finished it well. When Borough sacked Wilder and Carrick took over from 21st to the playoffs. So it's not out of the question that it's not going to happen. But you need a good manager, a championship quality manager in to make it happen. There was a Dutch study in 2000 to 2015 that found results improve the same amount regardless on whether a manager is sacked or not. They claim that it was based on luck and the way a team's luck changes. I don't know how much everyone wants to to believe that, but it was backed up by the football consultancy. 21st Club analysed the 5 European leagues, the big European leagues, and found that the 8 games before a manager was sacked, they deserved or got 0.8 points per game, and then in the 8 games after, it went up to 1.2 without much changing. And they look back, and the first 8 games where they got 0.8 points on average, they deserved the exact same 1.2 points. So it is almost proven that there's an element of getting lucky and times changing. And how many times do you go to a ground, you walk into the New York and say, "Oh, these have changed manager this week," or "They've not got a manager," and you expect a big performance from them. So it's going to happen. So what I expect in the near future is a small increase in the players wanting to play, depending on who we get in. But overall, as sad as it is, I don't see anything changing unless a decent manager comes in. There's a book written by Simon Coper and Stefan Szymanek called Soccernomics. They found there's a 90% correlation between wage bills and results. We're second bottom in wage results. So we can't expect to compete in the Championship without spending the money. I read Paul Davis's article earlier, and he said that Stuart came out and said we have to act now and give ourselves the best possible chance of retaining our Championship status. But without putting your hand in the pocket, I don't see how it's going to improve. But yeah. I mean that's a very depressing thought, and I want to stress to everyone watching that I really don't hope that happens. I hope we find form, but that's the stats on what happens when you release a manager.
Yeah, facts are important to know. I think it's important to know that there's not necessarily a fairy with a magic wand out there that's necessarily going to come in and make everything better. But it's nice to dream in it. Let's now turn to the exciting part of changing the manager. Some like it, some find it stressful, some really hate it. Let's have a look at what next, Tom. What next in terms of who? So the names that are linked at the minute are Wilder's been mentioned, Ainsworth's been briefly mentioned, but I don't think that's real. Who else have we got? Liam Richardson's high in the bookies odds. Nathan Jones has been mentioned. Eustace is out of work. Anything exciting in the area, Tom?
Yeah, I think. Well, firstly, I'd like to say that I think Ainsworth should be completely disregarded from there. If he comes, I think everyone would absolutely hate it. So I think that'd be no. And I hope to God that he doesn't now, and somebody clips that, and then whatever. I'd hate it so much. But for me, it's okay. Unrealistic, but ideal is probably Nathan Jones, just because I think he's on paper the best out of all of them. He can get a team organized together on a low wage budget, as I say, and can get some real fight and passion from them. But like I said, unrealistic. I think I just don't think he's in our wage capacity. I don't think he's anywhere near kind of that aspiration. I think he's more of a looking to take a club to the Premier League kind of aspiration type manager. I think we've seen that in press conferences because Jesus Christ, he has some confidence. I think Gary Rowett is probably my next. For me, it's Rowett and Eustace, just because I think John Eustace was so. I think John will say it. He was so unnecessarily sacked from a good Birmingham team. I can't see where it came from. Former assistant of Ireland, he's got some experience at the top level, albeit Ireland. No offense, but he did such a good job. Again, got him organised. He did have a bit of a wage budget behind him, and he did have some very, very good technical players with him. But he can do a lot with a little. And I think that's what kind of the style we're looking for. Same with Gary Rowett. I think we're looking to see people who can do a lot with a little. And that is why I think we should stay well away from Ainsworth, and we should just anyone but Ainsworth, really. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's those are the top three. I think Rowett and Eustace are kind of on the same par as me in regards to. I think they're both kind of. I don't mean to disrespect anything or anyone here, but kind of our level. I think they are two people that aren't out of our budget, aren't out of our depth. But ideally, yeah, Nathan Jones, absolutely. I think he had a tough time at Southampton, a really tough time. But I think you could see he was sort of turning it round a little bit, not really, kind of. I don't know, but he lost the dressing room instantly, and I think from there it didn't go down well. I think he's a big character, and that can go well with some teams. It cannot. So yeah, you have to see with that. But I'd like to say also that I think with Taylor, last thing I'd say on Taylor, but I think he'll go to a League One, League Two team and absolutely fly. I think he's a fantastic manager. I just think he needed time. I don't think we have that for him. I really don't. I think he needs to change the culture and change the change the atmosphere of a club. And he didn't. He didn't have time to do that with us. I think if we would have gone down last season, I think he would have stayed. And I think he would have done something really good. But this season was his chance to stay up, and he was taking us down, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. Danny's with us in the moment. Hello, Danny. Keeping himself busy at work, I see. Through comments in Bradley, anyone but Ainsworth.
Yeah, literally.
I said this before. If Ainsworth came in, I'm not sure I'd be a fan of it, but it would be hilarious to watch our fan base just explode. I would sort of enjoy that
for 20 minutes.
But yeah, for like a day maybe, and then the football would start, and then that'd be the end of it.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Chris Wilder. Scott Kent says Chris Wilder. Andy P says Chris Wilder by a million miles. Chris Sanders says no way we could afford Wilder or Jones. This is the tough one, isn't it? Because Chris Wilder is unemployed. He was linked with Reading. He was very close to the Reading job in the summer, but we're not flush with cash and in League One. The question, there's rumours he's been at the last two home games now. I haven't seen him there, so they are only rumours. Do you think Wilder's realistic? No,
I don't.
I'm not convinced.
I'm not convinced by it at all. I mean, I'd take him, but if what does it say about a man who's considering taking a job at Reading? And I say that. I don't know, not even tongue in cheek, really. They're an absolute shed of a club at the moment. They're rock bottom of League One, or very close to the bottom of League One. Potentially looking at another points deduction, I think.
Possibly, yeah.
And a complete absolute mess, more so than noisy neighbours down at Swillsborough. And that's saying something. So why would he even consider that? Did he even consider it? Well, we don't know. Do we?
Yeah,
it's just a rumour. So
seems like Reading.
If he was willing to take, if he was looking, did I say teams like Reading?
I think he did,
yeah. You do, yeah.
Clip that. Listen, if we could get him, then yeah, I'd take him every day of the week, particularly with Alan Nill. Because he's since Alan Nill was a manager with us, he's progressed as a coach a million times. He's a hell of a coach, and Wilder's more, I think, probably more of a bit of a manager than coach. Almost perhaps in the Neil Warnock mould, but I just can't see. I don't know. I can't see that happening with Chris Wilder. I'd like it to, but I can't see it.
You would take Chris Wilder? I don't know.
I'm not convinced. I said this. I said this last night. I think after we finished recording, that he didn't do very well at Middlesbrough, and whilst he was at Middlesbrough, he was making kissy faces to Burnley whilst he was still in the job. And then he went and took the Watford job, and we all know what the Watford job was like last season. He took it when they were playing for nothing, for what seemed to be quite just an easy payday. I don't know where Chris Wilder is at in his career. Is he looking for that kind of easy payday job like maybe he thought Reading could have been? or is he looking to re-establish himself and push back up the managerial ladder or not? I'm not sold on where he is in his career, to be honest with you. I don't know. Dylan, what are your thoughts on the potential? Why is it realistic? Would it be a good move?
I don't think Wilder's realistic at all. I just don't see it happening. I'm in the camp with Tom though. I think Eustace would be the ideal man to bring in for us, like what he did at Birmingham, and I think he could do well here. But no, Wilder's not one for me.
I think I agree. We should confirm or not, or mention Warnock through the media has said he's basically not interested. He's holding out for something in the January sales or February, whenever that may be. So Warnock appears to be a no-goer, which is a little bit of a surprise, maybe, but there we go. Who else should we pick up? Gary Rowett, Tom. He is another one linked fairly recently out of the job at Millwall. He screams Rotherham United to me, to be honest with you. He plays a bit of dirty football, not in the aggressive sense, but just not a very particularly pleasant football to watch. He grinds out results. He gets you sort of working hard. Maybe fits into our style. If he's in our wage bracket, which it'll be close, but probably is.
Yeah. And again, I feel like it wasn't what's the word? It wasn't a sacking out of malice from Millwall either, was it? It was more of a kind of like Taylor. Results weren't going their way. It was time for a change. Not necessarily that he's a bad manager, just that it was time to try something different. I don't know. It's I think out of all of them, I think probably Rowett is probably the one that you compare like to like in regards of culture and kind of wanting to play a certain play style. But don't know. I think it's tough because you've got you've got on one hand wanting to have a play style of getting stuck in, trying to grind out results. You've got another one trying to be, let's stay in this division, let's stay in comfortably. And you kind of think who's got the bottle in a lot of ways as well, because that way you lean more towards Wilder, who's got a bit more resilience to him, who's got a bit more kind of oomph. And in that case, you kind of want to go with Wilder. But I don't think he'd be a bad appointment, but you've got to look long term when you're hiring a manager, especially at this early on in a season. It was you've got to look long term. I think Rowett and Eustace are probably in same regards to that, but I personally go for Eustace just because I think the football that Birmingham played was just that little bit easier on the eye, and I know it might sound like I'm trying to be fancy in this and what and the other. I don't think we have the hardcore players. We have the culture and we have the kind of in-your-face, kind of Warren-esque wanting to play style. But if you look at that squad and think about the players that can actually do that, you think of Rathbone, Lindsay, Hacks maybe, if you ask him to do that. But it looks like he's being deployed as a centre-half for the next 7 years until our defenders get fit again. And then from there you go in, who are you actually kind of thinking can play like Rowett would want you to play, like Steve Evans would want you to play, like I don't know. It's just weird. I feel like we're a bit more. We've gone from the play style of Warren and in your face kind of pressing to Taylor's kind of technical, more technical ability players, and we're kind of stuck in the middle. And we're not sure whether to go this way or that way. And I think at the minute we are going towards the way of Taylor with the squad. I think we need to maybe implement a manager who's got a bit more grit than Taylor and a bit more nuance in Eustace, but also got that kind of technical ability management. So that's personally why I'd do it. But again, I don't know much about either. Eustace could well and truly be a big hoofball merchant. I don't know.
The only thing I'd say at Eustace is stock's quite high at the minute. Bearing in mind that the Birmingham this season, I wonder if he will probably wait out for a more comfortable job than us.
Yeah, true. Know. In that regard, you would consider Rowett more realistic than, wouldn't you? I think he's probably. I mean, I've just had a look at the Sky Bet, and it's Wilder is the favourite now. So
that's because everybody keeps talking about him being at that game, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The last two games. We over the next couple of days, we will reference the Sky Bet and Bet Victor quite a lot. First of all, we're not promoting gambling. Gamble at your own risk. Gamble safe and everything like that. Seriously, I'm not just dismissing it. We are being serious by not promoting it. They are an okay guide, but don't take it for gospel, because if I put a tenner on Ronnie Moore now, he'll shoot up into odds. So beware of taking those too seriously. I've got a couple of comments, Mick, sort of saying, if you get Rowett in when he gets a sniff of a better job, he'll be off. Well, yeah. If Matt Taylor got the sniff of a better offer, if Matt Taylor had been more successful in a month's time, say we were 13th, and in a month's time Stoke came in for him, Matt Taylor would have been off for a better job. And this kind of, I think we need to accept the club that we are, and we are not the be all and end all of everybody of the football world. We are a stepping stone, in theory, for these managers. So don't worry about them potentially leaving in 6 months' time, a year's time for a better job, because to leave for a better job, I will sack them probably, to be fair.
Yeah, it's the same with players, isn't it? And if you can bring a manager in and him disappear after a year of his 3-year contract, you're going to get some compo for it. You're going to get some more money in. So, it's not the same as bringing on players. And that's, again, it's the nature of football, that, isn't it? Players and managers move around, either after being sacked in the case of managers, or for a better offer, a la Nathan Jones to Southampton. So you're right, Matt Taylor may well have gone had he been more successful, but he wasn't.
No. Somebody asked Mick, Steve Evans or Gareth Ainsworth?
Well, I saw that question, and that's like being asked, do you want to be kicked in the right or the left testicle, isn't it? You know what I mean? And the answer to those questions, those two questions, will be exactly the same. Neither, thanks. I mean, Gareth Ainsworth, for crying out loud, I nearly swore then. I just managed to catch it just in time. Gareth Ainsworth, please no. I've already got a seat booked at St Andrews next to Johnny if Gareth Ainsworth comes. It might be a longer journey, but and I said what I said last night on the podcast about Steve Evans. I tried to think of a more backward step, but I can't. And I've spent 24 hours since then, and I can't think of a more backward step than employing a League Two manager. Well, all right, League One at the moment, but it'll be League Two next time, won't it? That's his level. And he brought some great success. It's a huge cost in terms of player turnover and everything else. But that's just like, wow. Is Sam Allardyce on the list?
I can have a look. Do we chuck a tenner on him to watch him shoot odds?
Well, but it's akin to that, and it's akin to Sam Allardyce being appointed at wherever he goes. It's just like Big Sam will do it, Big Steve will do it. What? No, Steve Bruce. That kind of just
Steve Bruce. Nobody's mentioned Steve Bruce.
He's on the list, mate, don't worry. But it's just a backward step. So for me, Steve Evans, absolutely not. Gareth Ainsworth, absolutely not. A kicking out of the testicle, absolutely not. Thank you very much.
Okay. Let's talk about second on the list. Currently second on the book is favourite, Dylan. That is Liam Richardson. He did an excellent job at Wigan under really, really tough circumstances. Very, very harshly sacked. I think they were relatively safe out of the relegation when he went. But he's another one of those where you sort of go, yeah, he did really good, but he's done nothing anywhere else. So was it a one-trick pony? Was it special for that club? What would you feel about Liam Richardson?
Yeah, he's not the worst out of the ones that have been rumoured. It's not awful, but it wouldn't be my first choice. I do think Eustace is probably the man that we ought to be going for. Played decent football at Birmingham, in a side that are looking to be established or are. And if that's the way that we're wanting to go and we're wanting to stay in the Championship and be around and stay, I think signing proven Championship managers is the way to go. Why I think is Steve Evans wouldn't be smart. You know, you're looking at staying in the Championship, but signing a manager whose level is League One at most. You need to start thinking about getting Championship players, and it starts now with a Championship manager. And hopefully we see the ripple effects. But whoever comes in, their first job is to get through the rest of the season. Either way, like what Taylor did when he came in, get through the season, and then Stuart backed him in the summer. So I'd like to see what Eustace can do with if he can keep us up, and then see what he can do in the through the summer and see what changes he can make.
There seems to be a change this season. This time last year, Tom, when we got Matt Taylor in, it was all about the up-and-comers. It was Matt Taylor, it was Mark Bonner, I can't remember else, but there were a couple of the League One and League Two managers that were the forerunners, and the other ones. There was no season Championship managers really mentioned. This season, it's the complete opposite. It's only names on there that have got Championship experience, all the used to managers in the past. So it does seem like we are changing going forward and looking for that experience. And I think that should have been what we did last year, probably. But I feel like we are desperate for that experience because we've got Championship players now. We have got those players. We now need somebody to sort them out, really.
Yeah. Very much so. And I think you say about the up and coming, you know, if you look at the ages of Taylor compared to Eustace and Rowett, especially, they're all 40s. It's not like we're going for old, you know, absolute ancient people. The only person that you look at and think, a bit old, even Richardson, all quite relatively young manager, Jones, all relatively young managers. I don't think we're vying for an old dog to kind of breathe new life, you know, kind of do the same things that they've done for the last 20 years. We're going the way of, you know, good managers that have been around for 3-4 years and have proven themselves for 1 or 2, and then had 1 or 2, more like 1 or 1 or 2 bad runs of games, 1 or 2 crap seasons, and kind of gone off the boil. And we are the sort of club that gives those kind of managers and players a chance to kind of a second chance. So I don't think it's a case of we've gone young and ambitious. I think we've gone more. I think we're still going ambitious and just a little bit more experienced, which I think is going to cost more, but you kind of get what you pay for. If we stay up, then they'll pay for themselves. In that regard, yeah, I don't know. It's really tough to see which manager to bring in, because you got to remember we poached Taylor as well. It wasn't like it was a free market. I think we've got a lot more options this time round. It wasn't like it was easy going. We had to pay a certain amount of money for someone, and we kind of came in the middle with wages and compensation for Taylor, which hindsight wasn't a bad idea. But yeah, it just didn't work out. If the options this time round were available last time round, I think we might have gone a different way. But yeah, you get what you're given, and I think, honest to God, now is probably the perfect time to sack a manager and bring another one in. 2 weeks off for international break. A lot of really top quality managers, you know, without a club and itching to get back in, I'd say. So yeah, it's probably a perfect time to do it. But I don't think it's a case of we're going different. I think we've been given a different avenue, and we're just going that way.
A few other names mentioned that I just want to tick off saying no, never. Ryan Smith says Dean Smith. No. Somebody else said Frank Lampard as well. I mean, no. Thank you. Thanks, Frank. But
Frank Lampard.
No. Yeah, no, please. No, please, and thank you. Not that he was offering, I suppose. Yeah. we could go. I could read you down the list of who's on the betting list. There's not much point.
I think Simon Thorne's got it right. Ted Lasso is out of contract. And yeah, I mean, I'll go for Ted. Believe.
Mark Burnell said, got to be Nathan Jones for him. Forget the Stoke and Southampton clubs on a downturn. prior and post managers at both clubs. Also got the boot, but at Luton he had a 51% and 40% win ratio. I mentioned this off air last night, Mick. For me, Nathan Jones is, if you can convince Nathan Jones, I don't think this is realistic. Let me put my cards on the table. I don't think it's realistic. But if you can get Nathan Jones to come in, I just think he fits Rotherham United as much as anybody else does, to be honest with you. But why would you come from Southampton to us? But then he's missed out on other jobs. There was rumours he was interested in Sheffield Wednesday. So if you're interested in Sheffield Wednesday, who are a complete mess of a club, why not Rotherham United in a better position with better players and a better chance of staying up? That's the sort of straws that I'm clutching at with that one.
Well, you don't know, and let's be fair, we don't know what Tony Stewart's willing to commit to this. The prize at the end of the season is bigger than it's ever been. So that for me that's really important, and and I'm sure for Tony Stewart it's really important because it could secure the club for a few more years after if he gets it right. So he may well be looking to invest some of that money
early
we get for staying up, whether that was in terms of a bonus. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? But I'm sure that they will have their irons in the fire. So, just wait while Thursday or Friday and nobody's been appointed, and then we'll be able to have another meltdown, another emergency podcast about why club sacked a manager without having somebody else already in place. You know what I mean?
I do think that is an issue, though, isn't it? Not having an idea of who you're getting in. I think having a 2-week break is probably good, but
I think they do because there's no interim manager and there's been no talk of backroom staff or anything like that. They must have had conversations. They've got to have. Otherwise, they said training or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is why I think Wilder might be a bit more up there than I think we're giving him credit for, because you can just turn up to do 2 games. Absolutely, you can do. But at the same breath, if this is true, which I'm not saying it is, I'm not discrediting anyone who's saying, it happened and all this. I'm just saying personally, I haven't seen it. So I'm not saying that this is true. But if it is, you can't say that a manager turning up to 2 games back to back, who has been out of a job, who is a Sheffield, he
played for us. He was a former Rotherham player, isn't he?
Yeah, Sheffield. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know if he's still Sheffield based. I don't know where he lives now, so I don't. But I assume he is. You can't expect a manager of his pedigree to turn up twice and then think that there's nothing there, especially the 2 games since Wednesday. I don't know.
Maybe he turned up and thought, "I sod that."
Yeah, no, exactly. That it genuinely could be one of 4 things that he's turned up, and I'm not saying why, but you have to see. We have to see.
Nathan Crabtree says somebody mentioned Carlos Carvajal on Radio Sheffield. I hope it's being serious. John Nelson says Nathan Jones is more hated than Ainsworth. The proper small man syndrome. We would fall out if he rocked up. That's why I like him, though.
Yeah, I don't think he's a good character.
I think he's just a abrasive, aggressive little man, and I don't know. I'm just drawn to that. I think. I don't know why.
I seem to have missed that Nathan Jones boat. I don't really know much of him other than how successful he was at Luton. I never really sort of.
Some of his Southampton interviews were funky, to say the least. Yeah,
they were good.
He was.
Given the fact that he's gone to, if that's his personality, and he's gone to a team full of prima donnas, hasn't he, at Southampton? He's not going to get on with them. And they're not going to get on with him because he's not all lovey-dovey and giving them all a cuddle every 2 minutes. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. But listen, Tony Stewart's an astute businessman. He's nobody's fool. He's taken the tough decision to sack the manager. He won't have just done that on a whim, because that's not the kind of bloke that he is. He's not. It's not built his business by just making decisions on a whim and hoping it all turns out all right. So clearly it won't be done in time for some people. I imagine, unless it's tomorrow, we'll be starting to worry about it. But he'll have somebody in mind, I'm sure.
John Morell says, Nathan Jones did everything you would hate in a manager, especially if you disliked Ainsworth. Nathan Jones is more successful, much more successful.
I mean,
I don't think Nathan Jones plays in a band. So take that or leave that as a positive or negative. I don't know what you think.
I mean, are we comparing? And I asked this question in all seriousness: are we comparing a Nathan Jones side to Wickham?
I don't think so. I think they are on the scale of that type of football, but I don't think they're as time wasty. I could be wrong. They were always anyway. We're getting. Harry says, "Do we know if the backroom staff have been sacked?" We don't know anything. Is the answer. You would assume so. The rumours we've heard is that they've gone as well, but they're just rumours. I'd be Wayne Carlisle will have definitely gone. I think that's black and white. I'd be interested to know the guy from Villa. I wondered if we've paid a fee for him in the summer to bring him from Villa, would we want to get rid of him straight away? Because I think he's a pretty highly rated coach. And then Scott Brown's the goalkeeping coach as well. He came with Matt Taylor, but didn't come at the same time. So again, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. The new manager might want to bring his own guys in. We just don't know. Maybe finish on this one, Dylan. The other two teams below us in QPR and the Pigs have gone for a young, exciting foreign manager. In Sifui, the Spanish guy at QPR, can't remember, and Danny Roll at Wednesday. Do you think that's a realistic thing, or do you think the championship experience is key at the minute?
I think there's enough people going, that we know of and that have played football in England. I wouldn't be against it, but I feel like for the purpose of security for the rest of the season, I think it's safer to go that way. And I think, as Mick mentioned earlier, that about the reward for staying up, I think that, get a manager in that can do it until the end of the season, reap the rewards, and then build from there, I think is the best way to go about it.
Yeah. Let's finish on, we'll have your one-word answers. If you had, realistically, but ignoring budget, who are you wanting to bring in? Tom?
Jones.
I agree. I'm going Jones as well. Mick?
Warnock.
Fair. All right. Fair enough. Dylan? Eustace?
Yeah, Eustace. I've got to go with it.
Yeah. Simon Thorne says, how about Pep Guardiola?
Pop Guardiola.
Pop Guardiola. Apologies. John S says Eustace. John Morell says, I would say Eustace, but I'm a little biased, but I simply don't see him taking the job that far away from home. It's one of the reasons we got him in the first. Midlands is not. How far's Birmingham? An hour and a half?
Yeah. It's a hell of a commute every day, that.
I suppose, but yeah, if you're waiting just to work near you, as a manager as well as a player, I think it's maybe slightly different. As a manager, I think you've got to be able. Anyway. Wayne says Mick with Miller Bear as the assistant. No shout out. Assistant. That hurts. That Wayne.
I've got my interview on Thursday, so I'll let you know how that goes. Sorry, no, I got that wrong. Thursday's for Watford job. Must be Friday.
CJ says Wilder or Rowett. Josh Fletcher says Big Sam till the end of the season. Ryan says Eustace all day long. Ian Bradley says, I'm sure a foreign coach would love a burnt pucker pie. Russ Vernon, anyone but Lampard. Friesen Fury says Steve Evans. Josh Smith says Evans or Wilder. Eustace for Ian Bradley, so is for Harry. Brian says Evans. So, I'm not going to put chavs on. I'll upset people. John S says Eustace and the first away win at Birmingham. That's got something about it, hasn't it? Few people saying Warnock, few people saying Jones, and Mike Miller says, please, not Warnock, or even worse, Evans. Yeah. Somebody I haven't mentioned is the Cowleys. Josh Caswell says the Danny Crowley. I don't know. There we go. I think we're potentially done for now, unless anybody else wants to bring anything up in the next 5 minutes or so. I'm open to stay on for 5 minutes if anybody's got anything we need to cover.
I think
go on.
It's just we're going to have a few days now where everybody's going to be refreshing Sky Bet, and every time somebody puts £2 on something, odds are going to shift ridiculously. It's we just have to wait and see. Trust the people down there to get somebody in. The players are off for a couple of 3 days anyway, so they're not going to be back in training until Wednesday, Thursday. We should have somebody in place by then, you would hope. Although I hope not. I hope it's Thursday, so we don't have to have another emergency podcast.
Well, we weren't planning on doing a Thursday episode, bear in mind it's the international break.
Oh, yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah, Damon Coward, Carl Robinson, that would be a funny one, bear in mind how much we all hated him for several years. But now like him because of the podcast. Adam Harkas asked, another emergency pod on Thursday when it's announced. Yes, we will be back whenever it's announced. So let's just mention sort of the rumours that are flying around, which have half a degree of validity. First of all, the rumours the players are not back until Wednesday. That's the rumour. So if there's not a massive rush for somebody to have gone in today or even potentially tomorrow, there's a bit of time for a bit of leeway for an appointment to come in. The rumour is that something has been done or is close to being done. I heard rumours that we've been sounding out coaches prior to the Ipswich game. So again, if this is true, then that means we probably are very, very, very close to something happening. But what I would say is the club, if that is the case, the club have been very, very close to their chest, keeping the name there. We're all talking about this. And when Matt Taylor and Mark Bonner last year, we all knew it was Mark Bonner, and then we all knew it was Matt Taylor. If it is close, we haven't seen that name properly come out yet. Other than Chris Wilde, but I think that's just people putting 2 and 2 together because he was at the games. That's as much as the Twitter rumour goes, or the other non-Twitter rumours go. That's where we are at the minute.
I think a couple of points that have been made in the comments and on social media as well is that one of the interesting facts is that nothing's been announced in terms of who's going to be taking charge of training.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is interesting. It's usually part and parcel of the same announcement, albeit players are off and we're in an international break, aren't we? So that could explain that, but who knows?
Ian Bradley put, I'd love Roy Keane, and then I want club to put out them. Is it a Jaffa cake, a biscuit, or cake? And make Roy Keane answer it, and just watch his reaction for stuff like that. Just that.
Sam Tunnell gets smacked before the end of this week.
There we go. Last call. Anything else, boys? You want to mention?
No.
All good.
Cool. Thank you all for being with us. Like, the numbers tonight have been massive. Make sure you've subscribed. I've seen the subscribers have gone up fairly significantly over the last hour or so. If you haven't done that, subscribe, like the video as well. We will be back at some point. Worst case scenario, we will be back next Sunday. So if there is no appointments, we'll still do a Sunday episode next week because, well, if there isn't a manager by then, that'll be a talking point, won't it? If there is an appointment before then, the Emerge Podcast protocols and nonsense will be activated. And we'll do that stupid little intro again because we're funny. Thank you, everybody who's been with us tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it. I think we're more positive than last night, I think. So thanks, everybody. Dylan, nice to have you back on, mate. We'll hopefully see you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
And Tom, thank you very much, mate.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a fun one.
And Mick, twice in 2 nights. Get a miss tomorrow.
Yeah. Too much. I'm tired. I'm going to lie down.
I'll let you press the buttons. Thank you, everybody, for being with us tonight. It makes it useful. Thank you for being with us tonight. And we'll see you soon. And up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
It's a Wales through a goal. Slots it beyond Fodringham. And the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box to Duffy. He can hit them. And he does. Oh!